Hi, I'm Mark Yaxley, General Manager of Strategic Wealth Preservation. Welcome back to Inside the Vault. Today we're going to be talking about going global. What motivates people to go offshore? What are the advantages of storing precious metals offshore? And what are the things you need to think about when you're going global? A lot to talk about, so let's get started. Ultimately, people move precious metals offshore because they have a concern about storing those precious metals in their own jurisdiction. That particular concern can vary from investor to investor. For example, I simply have too much gold in this one place, or it's not physically safe to store that precious metal in this place, or I'm worried about confiscation. All these points of concern can be addressed by moving those assets out of that jurisdiction, out of that place, into a new jurisdiction, creating geographical diversification. Perhaps it's a safer jurisdiction. Maybe it's more stable. Maybe there's no history of government intervention in that jurisdiction. So the reason to go offshore is really to address a point of concern that you have, and that's going to vary from person to person. The advantages of offshore storage do vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. It's a pretty broad topic because you have so many options when it comes to storing your precious metals offshore. For example, you could move them to the Cayman Islands because you're a US citizen and you like the idea of being offshore but still having proximity to your precious metals. So you could get there within a half day's travel, for example. Other people are looking for a very high level of privacy or secrecy. Maybe you would think of a place like Liechtenstein, for example, if you want to achieve a very high level of privacy or secrecy about your precious metals investment. Again, it comes back to that point of concern that you have. What are you trying to protect yourself against? And so you're going to want to match the jurisdiction that you choose to store your precious metals in with that point of concern. If you're worried about physical safety, for example, maybe you'll want to put them all the way down in New Zealand, a place that's far away from everything else in the world. There's two aspects that you need to think about when it comes to the offshore storage of your precious metals. First and foremost, you're going to be taking a long look at different jurisdictions where you can store your precious metals. Examples of things that you're going to be looking for are stability of that jurisdiction. Does the government have any history of seizing assets, for example? Do they have a history of war or conflict? You're going to want to make sure that the jurisdiction has a high regards for investor privacy, that your information isn't being reported to a regulatory body or to foreign governments. This is a very important one. You're going to want to make sure that the jurisdiction that you choose doesn't have any taxes or tariffs when your precious metals enter the country or exit the country, or when you buy or sell those precious metals. There are places in the world where you can buy and sell precious metals or deliver them to those jurisdictions without incurring any taxes or tariffs. You're also going to want to look for supporting services. For example, can you retain a good lawyer in that country, that they speak the same language as you, that they transact in the same currency they're used to transacting in? Perhaps you're looking for a jurisdiction in the same time zone that you live in. This is another item that should be on your checklist. Does the country have a history of military conflict? Proximity is another factor. A lot of investors look at places that have an excellent reputation for storage, but they don't factor in how far those places are from where they live. If they ever want to visit their precious metals and they have to travel 1 or 2 days to get there, that could be a disadvantage. You want to look for a jurisdiction that has a better proximity to your home country. Once you've chosen the jurisdiction that you want to be in, the next step is to choose a good facility within that jurisdiction. Aside from the physical security, you're going to want to be looking at the policies and procedures of that storage facility. For example, are you allowed to visit your precious metals within that facility? What kind of insurance do they hold? You're going to want to be looking for a facility that has a robust insurance policy against things like theft, fire, natural disaster. I think it's important that the facility that you select allows you to visit your precious metals and to conduct self-audits if you want to do that. One of the most important things to understand when you're buying precious metals is particularly offshore, because you're not taking home delivery. You're not going to be seeing these metals come to your house. You're not going to have the chance necessarily to touch or feel them immediately anyways. is to understand exactly what you're buying. Are you buying an unallocated product, or are you buying something that's fully allocated? Meaning, are those bars and coins specifically placed in your name in a segregated bin for you? Or are you buying part of a larger pool of precious metals? Understanding those key differences is really important. You're also going to want to choose a vault that has an active two-way market, which means you can buy and sell within that facility. The metals don't have to leave in order for you to get paid in the case that you want to liquidate your holdings. It's really important that you do your research here, because there are a lot of facilities in jurisdictions that are attractive, but they don't offer you the liquidity necessary to cash out of your investment. Thank you for joining us today for this episode of Inside the Vault. It's been a pleasure. I'm sure you have more questions, so feel free to email us at info@swpcayman.com, or you can tweet me directly. I look forward to receiving your questions. See you next time on Inside the Vault.